in the tragedies that they have created and the idea of going to the caliphate to fight. This bill focuses on the Foreign Fighter Review Act, and it requires a review of information regarding persons who have traveled or attempted to travel from the United States to support terrorist organizations in Syria and Iraq and for other purposes. I heard the question of Ms. Sanchez, and although the focus is there, we know that in the fiance visa San Bernardino scenario, the individual or the fiance was traveling through Saudi Arabia. So we know that this is a beginning process of looking at this broadly, but I support the underlying legislation. The Jackson-Lee Amendment makes sure that the report already required by the bill would include information on travel routes of greatest concern to our nation's homeland security. And so we realize that as we may travel from New York and stop in Chicago, may visit Texas and wind up in Los Angeles, that may be the same scenario that occurs in the instance of a foreign fighter's travel. The Jackson-Lee, in terms of other nations, but their points of departure are both Iraq and Syria. The Jackson-Lee Amendment creates a focus for the report on how foreign fighters are entering and leaving the conflict zones in Iraq and Syria. I also thank the bipartisan support of the Homeland Security staff in working with my staff on the amendments I offer today. In addition, I appreciate the support for Jackson-Lee report language, which will guide implementation of H.R. 4402, the Foreign Fighter Review Act, should it become law. The Jackson-Lee report language would direct that the report analyze changes in routes used by foreign fighters entering and leaving the Iraq and Syrian conflict zones to consider the efforts by the United States and allied nations to stop the flow of foreign fighters coming to do us harm. The goal of this report language is to better understand how foreign fighters attempt to counteract efforts to stop the flow of foreign fighters to the conflict area. This report language will aid the United States in determining how efforts to stop foreign fighters from traveling to Iraq and Syria are succeeding or impacting the travel routes of fighters. It's my hope that this will allow better analytics on foreign fighter travel to Syria and Iraq with the goal of improving the effectiveness of actions taken by the United States and allies to stop or decrease foreign fighter access to Iraq and Syria. With that, I ask my colleagues to support the Jackson-Lee Amendment, support the underlying bill, and yield back.
Generally yields back. Any further discussion on the amendment? There being no further discussion, the question now occurs on the amendment offered by Ms. Jackson-Lee. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. In the opinion of the Chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. There are no additional amendments listed on the roster. Are there any further amendments to the bill?